Good morning, good morning, good morning. It may not be National Hangover Day for me, but it is National Hangover Day for the United States. So let's get it started. It's the H2 show. Welcome in, welcome in. It is the day after the big game. I'm sure everybody was up just a little bit too late. I know I was. It wasn't a very exciting game, but there were some funny commercials. Let's get right into it. So the rundown today, let me pull myself down there. Ba-ba-bing, ba-ba-bing. We have umbrellas, hangovers, flying facial hair, and a kiss from a lime on a grave. Oh, and also, that's a no-go for 3 in a row. Let's get it started. So today is National Umbrella Day. Umbrellas have also found their way into the art world. Oh, what am I doing here? Okay, here we go. The basic umbrella was invented over 4,000 years ago. There's evidence of umbrellas in the ancient art of artifacts and from Egypt, Assyria, Greece, and China. And we can credit the Chinese for being the first to protect us from the rain. Their paper parasols received a layer of wax followed by lacquer that made the umbrellas withstand the elements. One of the first umbrellas shops opened in 1830 at 53 New Oxford Street in London, England. The shop, operated by James Smith and Sons, still operates regular hours at the same location today. Think about that, from 1830 to 2025. That's pretty impressive. In 1928, Hans Hopt's pocket umbrella appeared. Then in 1969, Bradford E. Phillips, the owner of Tots Incorporated of Loveland, Ohio, obtained a patent for the first working folding umbrella. Umbrellas have also been fashioned into hats as early as 1880 and as recently as 1987. So let's give it up for that lovely device that keeps us dry during those rainy days. Umbrellas, the big winner of today. Okay, National Football Hangover Day is also today. So today, the day after the big game, is typically one of the highest call-out days. It's estimated nearly 14 million people call into work sick the day after the big game. If that applies to you, congratulations. You've officially joined millions of other fans nursing a massive football hangover and headache. I don't think anybody stayed up late to just figure out what the results were because it was a thrashing. I mean, an absolute beating by the Philadelphia Eagles, breaking up the what would have been three-peat. This is the second time in, I want to say, maybe 10 years they've broke up what would have been a three-peat. So you had the Patriots win one, then lose to the Nick Foles-led Eagles, then win the next one. And now you have Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs win, obviously, 2 in a row, and then lose last night to the Philadelphia Eagles. On National Hangover Day, it is important that we tell you how to nurse a hangover. Well, while some will tell you the hair of the dog is the right thing to do, obviously, if you got to go to work, that's not something you're going to be able to do. So hydrate slowly. Eat. First of all, the prep for a hangover starts the night before, okay? Got to eat before you drink. That's very key. And you need to pair a water in between each drink. Slows you down from consuming too much alcohol, also keeps you hydrated. Just my suggestions coming from somebody that's been there before. Don't drink much anymore, but yeah, definitely experienced my fair share of hangovers during college and early on in my career. So we will move on from that to this day in history. Let's head on back in time to this day in history. This day in history, the Battle of Baghdad started in 1258. In 1763, it was the end of the French and Indian War, and the fire extinguisher was invented by Alanson Crane back in 1863. In 1931, New Delhi becomes the capital of India. And in 1942, the first Medal of Honor was awarded during World War II to Second Lieutenant Alexander Ninger posthumously for heroism during the Battle of Bataan. In 1962, Francis Gary Powers, a U.S. spy captured by the Soviet Union, is released. Powers was exchanged for captured Soviet spy Rudolf Ivanovich Abel. And then 1964, an aircraft carrier collides with a destroyer in Australia, killing 82. The destroyer was HMAS Voyager, sailed under the aircraft carrier HMAS Melbourne's bow and was cut in half and sank. In 1964, Bob Dylan's album "The Times They Are a Changin'" was released, and the title track is one of Dylan's best-known songs. And then in 2009, two satellites collide in space. Both the U.S. satellite Iridium 33 and the Russian Cosmos 2251 were destroyed in the accident. Very interesting. Oh, in 1996, computer wins at chess. They won the first time a computer was able to beat Garry Kasparov in a game of chess. So pretty cool, pretty cool. All right, and we'll move on from there to some birthdays. So we can say happy birthday to an Olympic gold medal winning Mark Spitz. In 1950, he's age 74. Greg Norman, born in 1955. George Stephanopoulos. Oof, no, I didn't say that right. In 1961, political commentator Glenn Beck. In 1964, actor Laura Dern. In 1967, actor Elizabeth Banks. In 1974, and actor Stephanie Beatrice in 1981. Let me see if I've got any local celebrities I want to say happy birthday to. Give me 1 second. Pull up my Facebook and see if anybody gets a little happy birthday shout out here. Boom, 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 boom. Ooh, there's 3 today. So happy birthday to my dear friend Beth Watts and a friend Gary Luker. Happy birthday to them. And Ross Channing. So happy birthday to y'all as well. Y'all are local celebrities and friends of mine, so happy birthday to you. All right, let's get back to some national news. All right, and in national news, well, one of the biggest things we've been seeing is continued articles coming out about the spending that is being discovered. That has been a big hit and a big piece of information and flow. A lot of people being upset, a lot of people being happy. I think we can all agree, like we said on Friday, that kind of crazy the amount of money we spend on the things that we spend it on. I saw something to the tune of nearly like $1 billion on carrying interest on credit cards for the federal government. We saw that the USAID was being shut down, or largely being shut down, and they're taking the sign down from the U.S. Institute on Foreign Affairs there, or was international something. I'll find it again. And then they're now looking at the Environmental Protection Agency and the Department of Education. So both of those are under, I guess, DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency scrutiny. So we should probably see in the next few days more and more information there. I will try to get the calculator that that they're utilizing now. I don't know if I'm going to be able to show this while I'm on camera. I will get this on screen next time we talk. But there is a Department of Government Efficiency live tracker, and it's talking about they've targeted $2 trillion in cuts by July 4th of 2026. So far, they've saved $36.73 billion, according to a not official data that has been published on the Department of Government Efficiency X page. and the savings per taxpayer amounts to $244.89. And that is a 1.8% progression towards the goal with 48 total initiatives so far. So we will bring that up and just show that to everybody. You can scrutinize it for yourself. Obviously, it is not an official government website. It is a person who is following the X page and taking all of the calculations that are being published there and then putting them into a calculator. So interesting stuff on that end. There continues to be arguments back and forth. I would just say, again, compassion, patience, kindness, all those things are necessary whenever we're talking about really controversial subjects. The president signed the order to make the February 9th now the Gulf of America Day. So that is happening, and renamed the Gulf of America or the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America yesterday while he was in flight on Air Force One flying to the Super Bowl. Apparently, he's the first sitting president to attend the Super Bowl. I saw him there last night at the big game, and just wanted to point that out. Seemed like he was well received at the game last night. Chris Jones, the defensive tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs, made sure to go over and shake his hand before the game. So seems like his satisfaction rating has changed. I believe it was as high as it's been ever in his time of running for office or in his presidency. So you judge for yourself, but wanted to point that out as well. All right, and we move on to the big game. So what happened last night? Obviously, a lot of great commercials, funny commercials in my opinion. I thought it was interesting that there was just a run on flying facial hair. It only happened twice, but it seemed weird that would be the thing that would happen twice in a commercial. So the first time was a commercial for Little Caesars, and Eugene Levy's eyebrows got blown off of his face over their little power balls or whatever you want to call them, puffs, some sort of puffs from Little Caesars. I'm not a huge Little Caesars fan, but maybe I'll try them out. They looked good. They looked like they might be tasty little treats. And it is hard to beat a pizza you can get for $5 and it's hot and ready. And then the second time was on the Pringles side. We had flying mustaches. It's not that often, 2 is not that many, but it is strange that it happened twice. But we had flying mustaches and some dude's mustache coming off and getting exchanged with James Harden's mustache. Very, very interesting. After the guy blew the empty Pringles can horn to call for more Pringles. And then the other commercial that really kind of struck me was Kiss for a Lime. It was Seal, I guess. Kiss for a Rose on the Grave. They'd rewritten it for Baja Blast Mountain Dew. We all know Baja Blast is a delicious Mountain Dew. It's not good for you, but who cares? Sometimes you just want something that tastes good and is delicious, and that is what Baja Blast is. It's better when you get it out of the fountain at a Taco Bell, and yes, you will have to scream attendant to get away from the AI if you don't remember exactly what you want to order, but that's okay because, it's cheap food and Baja Blast is delicious and it's worth it. And no, the Baja Blast Zero Sugar does not taste the same as the regular Baja Blast. I'll take it to my grave. Sorry, argue with me in the comments if that's what you want to do. All right, and moving on. What happened to the Chiefs? What happened to the Chiefs and what happened for the Eagles that put them in this position? They were able to win the game. So when we look at the game, it was really won and lost in the trenches. The offensive and defensive line is really what made the difference. The Eagles have understood the assignment. Howie Roseman is their general manager, and the way he has drafted his team has been to ultimately face a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes. If you think about it, on the AFC side of football in the NFL, you have Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Patrick Mahomes. So you ultimately have 4 of really this generation's best quarterbacks all on one side of the conferences. And because you have that, and you have what would amount to semi-mobile quarterbacks, Joe Burrow is not super mobile but can run, did a little bit in college. You have quarterbacks with strong arms and with pinpoint accuracy. So really elite quarterbacks in that side of the conference. And so Howie has tried to focus on how he would stop Patrick Mahomes primarily. However, and of course that's after their loss 2 years ago, but also it would have worked for other teams as well. So he drafted Jordan Davis, he drafted Jalen Carter, Kenyon Mitchell, and Cooper DeJean over the last 3 or 4 seasons. And a lot of those guys replaced prior great defensive linemen. Fletcher Cox is no longer with them. Hassan Reddick is no longer with them. But they got younger, and then they built down the middle as well. Nakobe Dean is another one that they drafted. Zach Bond is a guy they just signed from New Orleans this season, who had previously not started for anybody and was actually had some votes for Defensive Player of the Year this year. So they built this team to be able to take on a Patrick Mahomes-led Chiefs team. And Vic Fangio, who is the defensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles, knew that what he wanted to do was blitz as little as possible. Well, last night he blitzed 0 times. They got 6 sacks, I think, for negative 36 yards, and they had 11 quarterback hits. They got pressure on over 50% of their plays on defense, and that ultimately is what won them the game. Patrick Mahomes made 2 really kind of rare errors that he normally does not make. The first one was he was flushed a little bit, and then when he got flushed out, he tried to make what would for him is a pretty regular sidearm throw, miracle throw for most quarterbacks, and got picked off by Cooper DeJean. Little known fact: Cooper DeJean was the first first one to score a touchdown and have an interception on his birthday. So he just turned 22. Cooper DeJean out of Iowa has been playing slot corner for the Philadelphia Eagles and has scored more touchdowns than he's given up in coverage this year, and that being 1. And then on the second one, Zach Bond made a diving, pretty miraculous interception inside the, I think it was inside the 10, on a play where Josh Sweat got underneath the pad level of Joe Thuney, the left tackle, and pushed him back into Patrick Mahomes. If Patrick had his feet set and not been bumped, he probably completes the pass, but instead another interception. So that defensive line for the Philadelphia Eagles and then their secondary and their linebackers really made it a rough night for Patrick and the offense. And unfortunately, they weren't able to break out at all, unfortunate for them, of that slump until late in the third quarter. I think with 26 seconds left in the third quarter, they threw the ball to Xavier Worthy to get a touchdown and then scored a couple of more what I would call garbage time touchdowns to make it a more, less embarrassing score, let's say, 40-22. And then on the other side of the ball, Jalen Hurts looked comfortable the entire game. I thought sitting there with a couple of friends that the first drive was going to end up being one of those controversial what-if moments when they called what was kind of a ticky-tack offensive pass interference call on a 4th down play on A.J. Brown that was doing a little hand fighting out there with Josh McDuffie. But it turned out it was pretty even-handed reffing. You may say that the Eagles got a couple of ticky-tack fouls. I'm not sure I would say that, but some might say that. But ultimately, the Eagles built a team over multiple seasons that was designed to get back here and get that lick back in the LIX Super Bowl. And that's what they ultimately did. So congratulations to the Eagles. I have a few Eagles fans, and I guess I'll say fly, Eagles, fly. Last time they did this, I was not very happy because I'm a Patriots fan or was a Tom Brady fan more or less. So there's my bias. That's why I'm not a huge fan of Patrick Mahomes. I hate to see my heroes fall, but at the same time, I can admit the dude's a pretty good quarterback. All right, moving on to some local news. In local news, as we said last time, we've got the March date opening for Buffalo Wild Wings, and this Thursday is the upcoming public forum for you to speak up on the HB 581 homestead exemption. Again, I think that one is hitting home for a lot of people as you're getting your property tax bill. It's one that I think your voice should be heard and you should make it known. I think it also is a time and an opportunity for us to engage in uh, in public discourse and get a deeper understanding of what these bills mean and what a homestead exemption is, what our property taxes are. So many of us, and I don't know the percentages, but I know I count myself among it, are in escrow on some of this, and so your escrow will increase, but you don't see it as one big chunk payment. Now, maybe that's intentional, or maybe it's just, hey, the nature of the beast is they want to put you in escrow so that there's less risk on them of you not paying your property taxes, and that way you can lower your risk as a bank for loaning out a mortgage and tax liens and all the other things happening that if you didn't pay your property tax. But um, I'm not sure, but what I will say is that if you are in escrow, that you do not get as much exposure to how bad the property taxes hit you because it doesn't hit you in some one lump sum. Very similar to, let's say, for example, some people who don't pay their or claim higher number of dependents so that their taxes are lower throughout the year, and then they pay a big tax bill at the end of the year. Um, Financially, that makes sense, right? Because you are effectively loaning the federal government your money over the year. And if you instead chose to um, pay as little in taxes as you could get away with legally and not loan them money throughout the year, you could be earning interest on that money. And then whatever taxes you had to pay at the end, you would have that plus interest. The problem is, for most people, that is not what they're capable of doing. If they have a lump sum of money, it takes a lot of maturity and discipline in order to not spend that money and therefore have it available when it comes time to pay your taxes at tax time. The same is the case on property taxes. So people who pay their property tax at the beginning of every year or some time frame around there, they are experiencing a much higher impact to their bank account at one time than those who are in escrow. And I think that's why sometimes these property tax changes are not felt or discussed probably in a way they should be. In addition to that, a lot of municipalities did not increase or did not change taxes for a long time, and therefore, or do evaluations rather of the home, and so those tax rates stayed the same for a long time, and then all of a sudden went up at one big chunk. So again, it's a good time to get educated on how your property taxes impact you and what you can do to mitigate that and what the processes are for appeal. So if we can dive in deeper on that, if you want us to take some time to do that, please let me know. I also want to talk about one more thing, and that is if you are facing down anything as far as credit card debt and how to get out of it. I was doing some research this weekend. I like to listen to Dave Ramsey and the Money Guys. One of the things you can do with credit card debt is you could, in theory, line up your credit cards, and you could say, I'm going to pay the highest interest credit card first. And that is the right financial strategy. However, on a psychological note, the suggestion by the Ramsey group, and whether you think he's a fraud or not, that's up to you. Whatever you think about Dave, I know there are better ways to manage your money than to follow Dave's philosophies. But the discipline required to do those things is not necessarily always present in those who are in need of the advice that Dave gives. He gives it for a very specific group of people. And those are people that struggle with debt and struggle with leveraging interest in one area to make money in other areas. His advice is not for those people that are good at that. His advice is for the average person who has struggle that, hey, I can get this instant gratification. So when you're paying off your credit cards, the suggestion is a debt snowball. So you take your lowest amount that you owe, and that's the one that you try to pay off first. So you pay minimum payments on everything except that one. That one you pay every dime you can get towards it. And as you pay that completely off, you rotate it to the next one. So that is the recommendation. And let's say, for example, you're contributing to a stock portfolio, and you've got a pretty sizable amount of credit card debt. I would recommend you take all the money you were going to give to your stock market portfolio after you have a little bit of an emergency fund built up of $1,000, just like he suggests. Take that money, apply it to your credit card debt, because you're not going to make in the market most of the time the interest rate that is guaranteed from that credit card. So just a little recommendation. I wanted to do a little bit of finance this morning. Let's move on to the verse of the day. All right, let's pull out the verse of the day. As you know, I say this every time, but I just keep repeating it because I think it's important. We love you. We want you to succeed, whether you're a believer or not. We think you can get something out of the verse every day, and that it will mean something to you. If God's calling on your heart, go ahead and listen, answer. It's as simple as opening up your phone and getting on the Bible app. You can find out more about who he is and what his promises are. So the verse of the day, Isaiah 26:3 from the ESV. You keep him in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on you because he trusts in you. So what does this scripture mean? So this is saying that when your focus is on the Lord, that it keeps your mind in perfect peace. Yesterday, our pastor was speaking, and he talked about, I lift my eyes unto the hill. See, you could get down, and you can get down on yourself and down on life. You can be kicking your feet and saying, "Aw, shucks," or you can lift your head up to the hill from whence cometh your help. And that is what this says. Because as you put your trust in a higher power in God, you can ultimately take on anything because the victory is already won. And so with that, here's what I will say to you. And I think it's funny because I watch wrestling, and this is the one tribal chief, Roman Reigns, said this. They said, what do you think about today? He's like, I woke up. Rest of y'all are out of luck. He said a little more vulgar than that, but that's the truth. You woke up. And I told you last time, you're not struggling against people. You're struggling against powers of darkness and principalities of a different power, evil, if you will. And you woke up. Devil doesn't stand a chance. You got your feet on the floor. You're doing hard things. You know how to do hard things. You're counting on a higher power. You're going to be just fine. So try not to lean too much on your own understanding. If you get in a tight spot, say a little prayer. Heck, I will say a little prayer for you. We want you to succeed. We're going to continue to talk about business topics, but we'll also talk about cultural topics. I want you to feel like when you come in here and you listen to this space and we talk together, that we're trying to give you some life advice as we work through it together. Not me giving you advice. You and us talking it out, looking at experts, finding stuff online, talking to people that come in here so that we can keep moving forward. And as we said, instead of just going in that circle, turn that circle into a cone, a spiral, as we build up to the top of the mountaintop. And you are mission-focused and others-centered. So with that, we're not going to say goodbye, but I do have to say,
at the end of the day, the day got to end.
See you soon.